Hello, everyone. I am Salis Charming with the Pole Circuit, and today I'm very excited to interview one of our judges. Her name is Allison Sipe. Say hello.
Hello.
All right, why don't we get to it? So, our first question is why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into the industry?
So I started pole dancing in 2005, and it was kind of funny how I got into it. I was going to teach dance classes to kids, and I was going to interview at this dance studio. And there was a woman there teaching like an exotic striptease dance class. And so back then in 2005, that was like very like, new and exciting. And so she came out of the room and asked me if I was interested in taking her class. And I told her, no, I'm here to teach kids, whatever. And she's like, oh, well, I'm getting ready to move and open my own place down the street. And we're going to have poles and we're going to do pole dancing. And I was like, wow, that sounds exciting. And she says, yeah, and I'll need teachers. And I said, well, I don't know how to pole dance. And she's like, well, I can teach you. So I followed her to the studio, and it's kind of took off after that. And I started competing in 2009 with USPDF and got my pro card. And then I became sponsored by Xpole. And so I traveled and I was a master trainer for Expert for a few years with them. And then I started hosting my own competitions. The Florida Pole Fitness Championship started that in 2012. And I also started the Florida Pole and Aerial Arts Showcase. I ran that for 5 years. And then most recently, Dance Built the USA, which we started in 2015 as a franchise with Michelle Shimmy and Maddie Sparkle. I've also helped produce the Southeast PSO Championships with Amy Guion. And for a little while, I was the vice president of the US Pole Sports Federation. So I helped produce those events. I created my own instructor training for pole and aerial. It's called Arius Fitness Training. And for a while, I had online pole lessons. That was a virtual school. But with all these things going on, I have been so busy and created a career out of pole, and anything I thought that the industry needed, I kind of started or tried to get involved with. But currently, I just teach at Vixen Fitness in Orlando, and I travel and teach workshops around the state. Right now, I haven't really left Florida since COVID and all that. But yeah, so I'm available for all that, and I love it. It's a passion.
Awesome. So what kind of style would you say you have, or what's your like expertise?
I would say my style is sensual but acrobatic, because I was a gymnast and a dancer before. And I really enjoy teaching exotic style dance. But I also like the tricks and the inversions and handstands and aspects of that. So I like to, fuse those styles together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say your favorite trick is, since you said you like tricks?
Probably my favorite trick, or I guess like my most proud to do trick, is the Iron X, for sure.
Oh, that is my goal in life. Yes, that's awesome. It takes a lot of strength, superpower.
Yeah, it took me a while to be able to do.
So let's talk about your different competitions. Did you want to start, or which one do you want to start with?
Well, let's start with the first one. The first one I started, the Florida Pole Fitness Championship.
Mm-hmm.
I started that one in 2012. And I was inspired to start that one because, like I said, I had competed with USPDF. I think I competed with them 4 times. And I did a couple other smaller competitions, like local ones, in between. And then I attended them. So I got to see from both sides what it was like to be backstage and on the other side of the stage. And there were many things that I loved, and there were many things that I did not love. And I realized that at that time, that the only places that were having these types of events were in California or New York, or places that were really far away. And so financially, it was very limiting to people who lived in Florida or who were only doing this as a hobby, which most people do, right? And I realized that I could probably organize an event here and do something here because there was no events here like that. So I found a venue. I found everything that I needed, you know, the chairs, the staging, the bar, the local bar service. And I contacted Xpol, who was a sponsor for me at the time. And I said, hey, I want to put on an event and I want to do this and this and this. And I basically sent them a business plan with all the expenses and all the things that I wanted to do and said, you know, I don't know if you guys do this sort of thing, but I was hoping that you could partner with me and basically financially pay for the event. And then once the event's over, we split any profits and whatever. And so we did. And like 500 people showed up. Like,
Wow.
I'm not even exaggerating. This was like a wedding event venue type place. And I had 2 stage poles and we reached capacity. Like and I didn't expect that to happen, right? And it was probably the biggest event that I ever hosted as far as like attendance wise. And I learned a lot that year and moved to another facility, which was a theater. And so that's when we got the trust and the whole thing. And it was like a much bigger place. And so it was only a couple of years that I partnered with Xpol like that, because like I said, like they don't really do that. They especially don't do it anymore, but they took a chance with me because I like came correct. I like had my plan. I said exactly how much it cost. I showed them the website that I was making. I told them all the people that I wanted to come and judge. I had Natasha Wang, I had Marlo Fiskin, I had Stephen Retchless. Like, I mean, I had all these people that were superstars, and we did workshops and all the things. And so it was great. And so I just kept going after that because the feedback was so good. And although it was a lot of work, it was fun work, right? And I really was happy to provide a facility for the talent that is local here in the South, in Florida in particular, and to give them an opportunity to show the world that we're here and we have talent here. And you know, it's more than just New York and California. So yeah. And then after I did that for a few years, people said, oh, I love competing, but I really love performing. You know, I just want to get on stage and, you know, I just want to perform. I don't really want to judge. And so I was like, okay. So then I started the Florida Pole and Aerial Arts Showcase, and I added silks and lyra, and people could bring a hammock or whatever apparatus they had. And so that was held in the same venue that the pole competition was held in. So they were 6 months apart. And so I ran that show for 4 or 5 years. But you know, what I found in my experience is that people love to perform, but the shows that make you money are the competitions. There is something primal about competitions that makes people want to watch it. And the showcases are feel good and, you know, people have amazing, beautiful pieces, but the attendance isn't as great. And after a few years, I decided that while the cost to produce both shows was the same, the revenue that I was generating from just the showcase was not really worth it to be in that same venue. So I stopped doing that show. However, I kept going with the Florida Pole Fitness Championship because, like I said, competitions bring people. And for a while, you know, it was great, really profitable. Now, the last couple of years that I hosted it, I've never lost money on a show. I've only broke even once. And that was when I partnered with someone else to do a different show. I like to work alone. And I decided that the pole competitions that are available now compared to when I first started my competition in 2012, it's oversaturated. There are so many opportunities and events now for people to compete and be on stage and perform that the attendance and all that just has plateaued. So I haven't lost money. I haven't decreased the amount of attendance and people. I feel like I've maxed out on it, on that one. Now that event is special because the winner of the professional division gets to advance to compete in the Arnold competition. They pulled championship series held at the Arnold Classic. So that's like a big deal. So
Yeah.
there's only like
Wow.
10 or 12 of those like national events that qualify people. So that was one thing that was special about my competition. And that also people had to submit a video, and within that video there were certain skills that they had to demonstrate, right? And then on stage they also had skills that they had to demonstrate. So that was like my way of creating like an even playing field, right? And it was kind of modeled after gymnastics and the USPDF, where we had compulsory moves that we all had to do. And then the rest was kind of whatever you wanted, right? And that's worked. And so, but this year I've decided that I'm going to host the Florida event, but it's only going to be aerial. The last 2 or 3 events that I hosted, the Florida Pole Fitness Championship, I also included aerial, silks, and lyra. And that was just based on demand. People knew that I had produced the aerial show before. And when I stopped doing that, people were kind of sad, right? Because there just aren't that many opportunities for aerialists to compete. There are a couple of competitions, but again, they are in other states. They're far away. They're expensive to travel to. The return on the investment isn't as great, right? It's not like these competitions are giving you thousands of dollars or big sponsorships or anything like that. It's just for the fame, you know, experience and all that. So I had a lot of people ask me if I could produce an aerial competition. So I started including it, not thinking that it would be a huge part of the event. But the last time that I hosted it, I had an overwhelming response of applicants, and I opened it up to children the last few years, and that has exploded. And these parents are just so excited that there is another place for their children to perform what they've been practicing, that they are willing to just do whatever. And my inbox has been bombarded by parents the last 2 years since COVID, right? Asking if I'm going to do the show again. When am I going to do the show again? What apparatuses am I going to have? What are the age groups that I'm like? What's the youngest age I'm going to accept? Like, just crazy. So I postponed it the last couple of years because of COVID. And this year I'm going to host it live in person, and it's going to be on July 9th, 2022. And it's going to be in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be at the Marshall Ellis Theater. And I'm only going to have silks and lyra, but I will have the same divisions that I had before. And the competitors started at age 6. So the youth divisions go from 6 to 17.
Wow.
I had quite a few 6 to 8-year-olds, so many so that I had to create their own division.
Wow.
That was new the last time that I hosted it. And I was just shocked at the amount of children that are involved in aerial arts in Florida. There are a lot of circus schools here in Florida because there are a lot of circus shows. You know, here in Orlando, we have the circus shows. And then down in Miami, as you know, there's lots of circuses down there. And then in Tampa, they have their own little circus community going on. So people are applying from all over. I did get a few out of state people the last few times that I've hosted my event for the aerial stuff.
So
But
we do get a lot of out-of-state people that snowbird, live half in Florida, half in other places.
Yeah. So it's great. And then in 2015, I started Dance Filthy USA, and that is a franchise with Michelle Shimmy and Maddie Sparkle. I was approached by them in 2015 to host the US event. And so I'm in charge of running all of that, and it's been growing great. We just had our 5th event last year, and now I'm going to create a virtual show in between my live events, and that's going to be called House of Filth. And this is going to be an online show, and it's going to feature past Dance Filthy USA performers, competitors, judges, anyone that's been on the stage. And so I've selected a few people for the first show, and it's going to be happening in February, probably around Valentine's Day. So I will be making announcements on the House of Filth Instagram page. And the information for that show will also be on the Dance Filthy USA website. I have created its own like little tab on the website, since this will be a Dance Filthy USA production, like a sideshow. And I wanted it to be a unique experience for people to get a personal look into these artists' house of filth. So there's no real concept like I usually have with Dance Filthy. Like this last year's was Guilty Pleasures, right? But this house of filth is just anything goes, right? I want them to show their favorite way to dance filthy. And
Express themselves.
right. It may or may not involve a pole, right? Like it could
Yeah.
be anywhere really, but I do have specific parameters as to how the video should look, sound, things like that. So, but yeah, those are all the competitions that I'm personally producing. I also assist with the PSO Southeast Championships here in Orlando with Amy, and I've been doing that with her since 2014, I think. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So those are all the events that I produce right now.
That is awesome. So I guess now, since we talked about all the events that you have, and you do have quite a few, how do you, to step that aside and step into your judging hat, how do you like to judge? What do you expect? What are you looking for?
So when I was the vice president of the U.S. Pole Sports Federation, the judging and scoring was very intense. There was a training program that was developed to teach you how to score according to their criteria, right? And they would have technical and artistic and all these different categories. And then with PSO, they also have their own judging. And so by being a judge with these other events and producing my own events and being a competitor and having that experience of being judged, I have seen from a lot of different sides, right? Like what it is to judge. And seeing as much pole as I've seen, right, since 2005, I've seen some things, right? It's become a very a difficult thing to do, right? Because it's art, right? It's subjective. So you really have to look at the competition's rules. And this goes for competitors as well, because I placed third at the inaugural Miss Pole Dance America run by Alethea Austin back in 2015. And I was competing against superstars. Like I felt like I mean, obviously I belonged on stage because I was invited, but I was having imposter syndrome because I was like, I don't spatchcock, I don't fonzie, I don't do backflips off the pole. I'm not these people, XYZ, but I read the rules, right? And what is it they say? I understood the assignment, right? And I understood the assignment and I placed, and I feel like I placed solely because I brought the show, which was like what the whole thing was. They were looking for a showgirl type experience. And I know from experience as an audience person that I prefer to watch shows and pieces that make me feel something, but mainly to be entertained, right? Like I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be afraid that the person might injure themselves on stage. I don't want to watch a show and then
like biting your nails. Like,
yeah, like the anxiety, right? Like I should feel relaxed in that way, right? And I want to be entertained. I want to see more than just these tricks that you can do. It's like cool, but like, why are you doing them? Right? Like, why did you use this prop? Why did you bring this prop on stage, use it for a second and then not touch it again? Right? So having experience in judging all these different competitions and putting on competitions and seeing them, I have learned that you need to really pay attention to the specific event's rules and what they are looking for and how heavily each thing is scored, right? Because for example, Dance Filthy, there are no required moves or anything like that. But we are looking for a clear concept. I want to see that you are doing pole tricks. It's not overall performance is what we're looking at, right? So if maybe your pole tricks aren't super polished, but you like blew us away with your performance, you're gonna place, you might win, Now, if there was somebody else that also blew us away with their performance and they had amazing, clean, super straight legs, flexible, blah, 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 total package, yeah, they're going to win, but it's like not necessarily the best pole dancer is going to win the event. It's like who put on the best show or who followed the rules, who knew exactly what that event was looking for, right? And looking at past winners, like their videos, if they're available, right? Like what made this be a winning piece? What did the other people's performances look like? So for me, it's just becoming familiar with the event. What does the winner look like in this event's eyes? Like, right? Like my winner for Florida Pole Fitness looks different than my winner for Dance Filthy, right? Obviously. So
yes,
kind of knowing what you want that winner to look like is helpful in when you're judging, right? Because you know what to look for. But yeah, it's hard. You're judging art. You are judging someone putting their heart and soul on stage. And for a lot of people, they've never done that before, right? And so it's hard to judge them and be critical. But I've learned that as a competitor, getting feedback that is like specific, useful, helpful is one of the best parts of competing besides the pictures and video, right?
yes,
Because it's a learning experience and you want to learn and you want to grow. So I always leave feedback and, constructive feedback, positive feedback. I specifically try to say this one trick or this XYZ or this moment or this whatever, instead of saying, you need to point your toes and straighten your legs. It's like more than that, right?
yeah.
So I guess in a nutshell, it's learning what the competition scores, like what is it, pole art, is it pole sport, is it sexy, is it dramatic, is it whatever, anything goes, is it equal across the board, is it, how are they scored, and then kind of go from there and see what there is to be seen. And yeah.
So I guess to kind of talk about the pole circus. So we're doing a Naughty Valentine, and obviously Allison Sipe is going to be one of our judges. And I just want to take a quick moment since we're discussing, guidelines and all that stuff. So our show, there's really no rules as to apparatus. So it is a circus, so everything is acceptable. And with the Valentine's Day shows, we removed all restriction as far as music and clothing. So you can wear and pretty much do whatever you want as long as we don't see the goods. Nobody
Right.
needs to see all that.
Don't give them more than they paid for, right?
And like Allison was talking about, very similar to Dance Filthy, is that our competition is heavily weighted, the judging, on what story did they bring, did the performers use a backdrop, bring an accessory, dress up, do makeup, what's the theme. And that's what it's all about, putting on a literal show as if you were in the circus. So that's kind of the concept of the whole event as far as the pole circus and how everybody will be judged. And we do have a score sheet and guidelines and everything like that. So everybody's judged fairly and with the same guidelines. Allison, do you want to give any tips and advice before we go?
I mean, just to reiterate, like what I was saying about judging before, like if you are interested in competing or performing in a show, make sure that competition or show aligns with your style. Because if you're a sporty type of person, you like to do a lot of tricks and all that, doing a sensual or art, sexy type show may not be the right fit for you. And so you really want to do your research on the event and make sure that it aligns with your style and your preferred way of dancing, because it's going to be so much easier when you apply and participate in a forum, an event that matches your style, right? Really do your research, read all the rules, make sure you understand all of the things. Don't be afraid to ask questions with the organizers. We are here to put on a good show and we want everyone to have a good experience. And don't wait till the last minute to ask questions about your props and your music and all that. And it drives us as organizers insane to be dealing with these last minute things that really could have been asked way in advance. And when you are preparing for a competition or a show or whatever, it's a good idea to create a training schedule that includes breaks and includes training days where you're not just focusing on your tricks or all the hard stuff, but maybe visualizing your concept. The power of visualization, especially when you can't get to the studio to train, is significant. So, yeah, and just have fun with it, because at the end of the day, it's really not about who wins. It's about the journey and the growth that you've experienced from the moment that you've decided to participate in the show to the moment you're on that stage. It's such a short time that you're on stage. It goes by so quickly. It's
A blink of
like
an
that,
eye. Yeah.
and it's a roller coaster of emotions, right? The whole
Mhm.
time. This is, and then when you're done with it, you're just like, oh, why did I do that to myself? And then you're like, oh, I kind of want to do it again though. So it can be addicting. But if you have a plan that you can stick to with training and all that, like, you will be happy with your progress and your results, whether you place or not. Like I said, I have competed in several competitions before and I have not won them. So for me, it was how I grew as an athlete, as a dancer, as a performer in that time to train. And I would use that time to train with people that I've always wanted to train with, or take privates, or, whatever it is to expand my, my skill set. So yeah.
And I just want to mention too, because I think a lot of people, because I'm hosting an event and you've produced so many events, sometimes they look at us and they think, oh, they've won everything they've ever tried. So I'm just going to put it out there. I have actually done 5 competitions. Out of the 5, I have not placed in two out of the 5. So I've placed out of 3. So it's not that bad. But still, we do have to learn that it's not always, we're not always going to place, and that's okay. And the journey is so worth it. And it's a lot of fun. And we end up doing it again and again
Yeah.
and again.
Yeah. I will say though, that if your attitude is you're competing to win, right? Like you're competing because you want to win something, like that's not really the right attitude to have, just because pole is so subjective and it's art, and there isn't really a governing body across the board. All these events are judged differently with different people, and just because you didn't win or place does not mean that you're not a good dancer or that you're not worthy of performing. And just to remember to have fun with it and why you started this journey of aerial or pole. And that, like I said, if you don't win or place, it doesn't place value on you as a person.
Yes, just try and try again if you want.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for watching. I am Salis Charming with the Pole Circuit. And bye now. We're also with Allison Sipes. Bye, everybody.